Hello again. I'm Richard Alls, pastor of this YouTube program, Walking with God in the Garden. Thank you for bringing this up. Hope the message I have today is going to be beneficial for you. I know it is for me personally, as I read the scriptures and come into contact with interesting little vignettes that I like to pass on to you. This is not really what we call thorough biblical study, although I do offer that from time to time. And if you ever want to be a part of the Bible study programs, please just let me know. I hope your week has been a good week. This is again a nice time to say Happy New Year. The new year is upon us. And it's already, as we have found here in Southern California, an unbelievable blessing. We've had rain such that we haven't had for a long time. And I'm so grateful for that because I'm a gardener. And we know in an arid area, such as where we live, if we don't get rain, we have to pay for the water. God has blessed us, so I'm very thankful for that. I'm also thankful for people who have entered into my life and shared. One of them is my son. And as I share this bit of information with you today, I want to read how you can subscribe to this YouTube program. I still encounter people who say, I have no idea how to find you. Or if I do, all I get are old recordings. So this is the way. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Richard Alls 1449. And then the instructions are, be sure to hit the bell notification button to get the most recent video. Well, I hope that's clear. And if not, we'll give it a try again. Gardening is a very interesting experience, and I'm in it already. I know for many of you who live either on the East Coast or in the Midwest, you're still shoveling snow. But here, we're doing something else. We're preparing the ground. I was at the nursery today, and the nurseryman told me that people are just buying plants left and right. They want to get them into the garden and start the harvest as soon as they can. I've been into that for some time already. But there's something I would like to share with you today that has to do with what do I do with the information I get. I've been having a lot of trouble with gophers. And the other day, I was talking to someone who told me I have the secret to catching gophers. So he relayed to me this secret. I've known this person for years. He's never shared that secret with me. So I have put it into practice. Now I have to ask you a question. My neighbor also has gophers, and all my neighbor does is complain about the gophers. Now let's say what I have been shared with in terms of how to catch gophers really works. Should I share it with my neighbor, or should I keep it a secret and let my neighbor fight the gophers the best he can, but not give to him this bit of information so that his production can exceed or maybe even excel mine? Could I be selfish about that? There's also another thing about gardening, and that is to have a special variety of plant. Maybe buying seed from a very select seed company. Now, some of my neighbors don't care that much about gardening, so they're not willing to go the second mile and find the secret seed that will be most productive. But let's say that I get this seed and my crop is 5 times what my neighbor gets. Should I share that information with my neighbor? While he struggles just to get bare minimum production, but I have an overflow. Well, I'm going to let you answer that question today. Maybe there's something in your life where you have some insight some other people might not have. Do you share with them that insight so that they can benefit as much as you, and maybe even more so? Well, gardening involves all of this. We are very proud of our produce production. And sometimes, frankly, we're a little hesitant in sharing that information with maybe people who don't go quite as far in their research and wanting to learn how to do this. I'm thankful for those who have shared with me. My son has. The person who is the master gopher catcher has shared it with me. And for that, I'm very thankful. I want to read a story for you today, which is found in the Bible. I read these stories, and they have oftentimes little moralisms to them. And that's really what we're doing here on this YouTube program, Walking with God in the Garden. We are discovering how to be a good gardener, a better person where we are living. This particular passage is found in what we call Kings, the book of Kings, 2 Kings chapter 7. And I'd like to begin with verse 3. Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. Let me give you a little background. There was a big famine, and the famine was destroying the people. They were dying of starvation. There was no way out. The enemy surrounded them, knowing their weakness. There was no way to survive. However, we read, these 4 lepers, rejects of society, are sitting at the city gate. They said to each other, "Why stay here until we die? If we say, we'll go into the city, the famine is there, and we will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender." That was the enemy. "If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, then we die." At dusk they got up and went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of the camp, not a man was there, for the Lord has called the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. So that they said to one another, "Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and the Egyptian kings to attack us." So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. Fascinating story. You should read it. 2 Kings chapter 7. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp and entered one of the tents. They ate and drank and carried away silver and gold and clothes and went off and hid them. They returned and entered another tent, and they took some things from it and hid them also. They were the lepers, rejected by society, but at the right place at the right time. But notice what happened with these lepers. Then they said to each other, "We're not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves." What do we do with good news? Do we keep it to ourselves? Sometimes even in the Christian community, we find people who don't tell others about the good news that they have received. Salvation, forgiveness, joy, life with God. They keep it to themselves. When the world out there needs to hear it, what do we do with the good news that we get? What do I do with the good news I get about gardening? Do I share it with my neighbor? Or do I do what sometimes people do? They keep it all to themselves. This story is not just a fable. It's a moralism. It's a truth. We should not keep good news when other people can benefit for ourselves. May God bless us with this lesson today, especially as it relates to our faith and our sharing it. God bless you. Have a wonderful day and a marvelous week as well.